In today's video, we look at 3 stories that are claimed to be true and can possibly happen to you. I want to know what you think about them down below in the comments. I live in an apartment, and one day I started hearing a man swearing every morning at 4 a.m. from the upstairs unit. I endured it once or twice, but it became increasingly annoying to hear at the same time every day. Finally, I mustered up the courage to go upstairs. On the front door of the unit, there was a sign that read Exorcist. I knocked on the door, and after a while a man emerged. However, the moment he saw me, his expression turned sour, and he asked, "What is a sane man not possessed by a ghost doing here?" I couldn't help but notice that his pupils were abnormally small, his eyes mostly white, and a cold air seemed to emanate from his house, like a refrigerator. Startled, I tried to maintain my composure and explained, "I live downstairs. Why do you always lose your temper at 4 in the morning? It's so noisy that I can't sleep." He responded, 4 in the morning is when the evil spirits run rampant the most, so I exterminate them at that time. I have no choice. The spirits I exorcise are infesting this house. Get out quickly before they attach themselves to you. I glanced around his house, but it was eerily quiet inside. However, before he closed the door, I distinctly heard multiple voices conversing, which struck me as odd. He pushed me away and slammed the door shut. Feeling unsettled and with goosebumps on my skin, I returned to my own apartment. From that day on, I started hearing a soft singing sound throughout the day. It started faint, but grew louder, seemingly closer to my ears. I felt like I was losing my mind. Reluctantly, I went back to the exorcist, who, upon seeing me, clicked his tongue and said, as expected, "You're possessed by a ghost. The ghost is singing a song of death in your ears." However, I couldn't fully believe him, so I returned home. But then, even more unsettling things started happening. I woke up in the middle of the night choking with no one around, and a persistent stuffiness in my nose that wouldn't clear up. Another time, while driving, a mysterious hand pressed down on my foot, causing the car to accelerate uncontrollably. Only by summoning all my strength did I manage to release my foot and survive. One dawn, as I went to get water, something flashed on the floor. When I turned on the light, I discovered a kitchen knife beneath my feet. Since I lived alone, nobody would have left a knife there. I started fearing that something serious would happen if these occurrences continued. Thus, I decided to visit the exorcist once again. I knocked on his door and he looked at me remarking, "You're not dead yet?" Finally, I mustered up the courage to ask him for an exorcism. We went to his house at 4 a.m. and the exorcist began reciting prayers, whispering them repeatedly into my ear. He said, "Come with me to the afterlife. Let's live happily together forever in the world of the dead. Come with me." What sent shivers down my spine was that upon hearing his voice, I felt a strange sense of contentment and found myself replying, "Okay, let's go together." In response, the exorcist yelled at me with a thunderous voice, and gradually, the voice in my ear faded away. The exorcism continued throughout the night, and by the break of dawn, the exorcist declared that he had successfully expelled all the evil spirits. He then warned me never to return. I returned home, and though I still heard the man swearing upstairs every morning, I dared not to go there. Fortunately, nothing else happened after that. However, from time to time, I hear knocking on my front door, even though no one's standing outside. Could it be a haunting reminder of the foreign and inexplicable events I experienced? I guess only time will tell. In 2015, a chilling winter night, I, a young mother with 2 girls under the age of 10, was busy preparing dinner at home. My kids were playing upstairs, and my husband had left for work early in the morning and wouldn't be back until midnight. It all seemed like a typical day. Around 7 p.m., as I was engrossed in cooking, the doorbell suddenly rang. I found myself alone on the first floor of our house. The kitchen was across the hallway from the front door, and as I turned to see who was there, my eyes fell upon the figure of a thin, frail man wearing loose clothing. Despite the possibility of him being a neighbor or delivery person, the shape of his figure was unfamiliar and sent shivers down my spine. I wasn't expecting any packages either. The question of who could possibly be at my house during that time haunted me. With cautious steps, I approached the door, hoping to catch a glimpse of the person outside through the window. However, the window on our door had a thick patterned glass, rendering it impossible to identify the visitor. I retraced my steps to the light switch a few feet away and turned on the hallway light, followed by the porch light. In an instant, the man dropped to the floor, and I found myself frozen in fear. The illumination allowed for clearer visibility, and I could see the man hiding beneath the bench on the porch. What was his intention? What should I do? I pondered my next move when I noticed that there was not only a man hiding at our door, but also a getaway car parked in our driveway. Our neighborhood fostered close-knit relationships, and we all knew each other well. Instinctively, I dialed my neighbor's number, who resided across the street, and urgently asked him if anything seemed amiss outside my door. Unfortunately, he couldn't gather any useful information. Faced with uncertainty, I decided to take matters into my own hands and decided to call the local police station, requesting them to drive by and investigate the situation. For what felt like an eternity, I anxiously stood in the hallway, waiting for any sign of movement. Finally, I heard a commotion at the front door. The car parked in my driveway sped away and arrived at another house on my street. Simultaneously, the man dashed towards the same house. Bewildered by the turn of events, I couldn't fathom the exact circumstances. Shortly after, I saw a police car pass by and everything seemed normal again. Later, I discovered that the house the man had fled to was notorious for drug-related activities. I can only assume that the man had mistakenly targeted our house, but the experience continues to haunt me. I wonder about the potential outcome if I had opened the door. I was younger, around 18 years old back in 2015. Even now at 37, I'm still freaked out about what happened and have reoccurring nightmares about it. It feels like my life is forever changed, but no one believes me. This is why you should never trust what you see. I took up a pet sitting job for an elderly couple over the summer, and they appeared to be around 80 years old, so I didn't think there was anything sketchy or dangerous about it. It was a simple task of watching their cat while they went on a 3-day vacation. They only instructed me to feed the cat every 7 to 9 hours. It seemed like easy money. On the day I went to their house, I gathered my belongings from the car, including flashlights to navigate their dimly lit house and some extra clothes. As I stepped inside, a musty smell greeted me. That was the first odd occurrence. Despite the house appearing clean and tidy, the scent lingered faintly, but I brushed it off and continued. The elderly couple showed me around their decently sized house with 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. The floors were carpeted and the decorations had a modern touch, surprising for their age. The old woman took me aside to show me where I would be sleeping. The room was nice, but the musty smell was slightly worse there, and the carpet seemed lighter than the rest of the house. I dismissed these details, foolishly ignoring my instincts. They also informed me that their son lived in the house, and his room was located in the basement. They warned me that he never left his room and that it was off limits due to his sensitivity. 30 minutes after they left, I found myself alone with their son. Initially, everything went smoothly for about 2 hours, until something particular occurred. Sitting on the bottom floor watching TV, I heard a loud slam coming from the basement. Normally, this would have scared me, but I knew their son was down there, so I just simply brushed it off, even though it was unsettling. Shortly after, I heard the basement door forcefully swing open. This confused me, because if he indeed lived there, why would he slam the door? But I let it go, assuming he had come upstairs to get a snack. I decided to check on him despite the old woman's warning. I got up trying to not make any noise and approached the basement door. To my surprise, the door was open and the stairs leading down in complete darkness. No windows, no lights anywhere. At that moment, I assumed he had come up from the basement. Thinking he might be in the kitchen, I proceeded towards it. It's important to note that I didn't hear him enter the kitchen. I just assumed he did. As I turned the corner into the kitchen, there he stood. He had dark brown hair, brown eyes, and appeared to be African American in his early 20s. He was quite handsome, which somewhat dismissed my sense of caution. I took a tentative step forward and he turned his head towards me. Nothing seemed particularly strange, except for the fact that he didn't speak or make any noise. However, what caught my attention were the objects in his hands, a long rope and a kitchen knife. After glancing at me, he whispered, "Basement?" Curiosity clouded my judgment, as this was a small town in 1990 where there weren't many defining factors to identify bad people, like stalkers or killers. Besides, the elderly couple didn't strike me as a type to harbor a wanted criminal. I walked away, disregarding the warning. Unlike the saying, "Curiosity killed the cat," in this case, curiosity saved me momentarily. While passing by the basement, his word echoed in my mind, igniting a growing sense of unease. Something was off, and it all seemed connected to that basement. Retrieving the flashlight that I had brought with me, I descended the stairs. The basement wasn't large, containing only a couch in one corner and a coffee table and an adjacent bedroom. However, the overwhelming stench permeated the air. A mix of rotten eggs and the muskiness that pervaded the entire house. Despite the repugnant odor, my curiosity pushed me forward. I opened the bedroom door and was confronted with a horrifying sight. A man laying on the floor, surrounded by a pool of blood. He was tightly bound with rope, and a kitchen knife was embedded in the wall nearby. The scene made my eyes well up with tears due to the overpowering stench. Bugs and maggots crawled everywhere, but what truly chilled me to the bone was the realization that the person I saw in the kitchen was the same person laying on the ground. A mirror image. Same shirt, same pants, the same everything. I stood there, horrified and dazed, until a maggot landed on me, jolting me back to reality. Without hesitation, I sprinted out of the house, never running faster in my life. Living too far away, I knocked on the nearest house, seeking refuge from exhaustion. They later informed me that the elderly couple had murdered 3 people in their bedroom where I had been sleeping. That explained why the carpet appeared lighter. They had bleached the entire room. The musty smell wasn't as potent because they had killed their victims hours before arrival and stuffed their bodies in the closet. The first victim was their son, whom they had bound and killed 5 days prior. I can't fully comprehend what transpired in that house, but I hope the elderly couple received their punishment they deserved. If you enjoyed today's video, give it a big thumbs up, and let me know what you think about these 3 true stories that can happen to you down below in the comments.